The Spotlight, shining a light on podcasts and videos that have caught our attention.
Hi and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm Jen Spiker and today I'm highlighting a video you'll find on the Vision app. But the conversation was originally from Vision's national breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Each weekday morning, Fel and DJ fire up the studio with a whole lot of fun, some interesting guests, useful, real-life biblical insight, plus positive music to get your day going in the right direction. A recent guest on the program was the focus of a feature film, Unsung Hero, which is about to launch in Australian cinemas. Helen Smallbone joined Fel and DJ from the front seat of her car to share her unique perspective on the movie.
The Spotlight with Jen Spiker.
I don't know if there's ever been a time in your life that hasn't been a crazy time, but it's ramping up at the moment because of the film that two of your boys have made here, Unsung Hero. The whole family's gotten involved. How has that process been for you?
It's been very surreal. I mean, seeing your life experiences that you had portrayed on a screen. It's not been, sometimes elements of it I find hard to watch. I think David's found it easier in some ways to watch it, but I've actually found it fairly hard to watch. It must be evoking in me more emotion from those days than what I actually think it should be. And then we have been, David and I have sort of been plummeted into our children's world. We're not getting a lot of sympathy from many of our children for having to do interviews and everything else because they're like, welcome to our world. You would think at the ages of 69 and 74, life would be getting quieter, but I think life's getting crazier.
Well, as they say, if you've been faithful servants to the Lord all this time, He's not going to stop using you now. I think you guys have got a massive story to tell. I'm really interested in the feeling that I can't imagine. You mentioned the word surreal. You've got this actress playing you in scenes of your life. Were you on the set at all, were the boys inviting you in saying, all right, Mum, how did you actually feel? What did you actually say in this period? Or did you say, you know what, you just go do it, however you think that's going to suit the story, I'll step back. How was it for you?
A second scenario. So the boy, Joel and the scriptwriter, Richie Ramsey, actually wrote the script. Joel passed the script to us about a month before filming, and he said, maybe you just want to check this out. David started reading it and thought, I think it's probably best if I just don't read it.
Wow.
I think if I comment too much, I may change things too much. I'm just going to let them do it. I read the script and then I came back and I said, listen, just be careful you don't take out the miraculous. And it's very hard to read a script and get the idea of what it's going to be like visually. I mean, that was even beyond me. But I said, just be careful you don't take the miraculous out of it, because without the miraculous, we couldn't have stayed. We couldn't have done it. We had to have seen God showing up in our lives, because what we were going through was just too hard without that. And I think they've done an incredible job of doing that. I'm very proud of the job that they've done. It is really it's a part of their love expression to both David and me, because I feel like they've honored us through the story. They've told it vulnerably and real, which is what I would want. And it's been extremely touching to be on this side now that the movie's been out for a couple of weeks, to have seen the impact that it's having on people. I've had people say, hey, you shouldn't be buying popcorn before you go in. You need to be buying a bag of tissues. And there's truth to that, because it really does cut through to your core emotions as men and women, as husbands and wives, as mums and dads. And then secondly, I'm seeing people leaving a bit challenged to make a difference in their lives. And it's really been something special. I've had a dad who will text David and say, I watched the movie and I know I've got to go home and love my children better. I've seen a dad who's gone and said, I want to go home and play with my kids more, appreciating what they have in their family. And it's one of the core lines that's actually in the movie, and it says, your family aren't in the way, they are the way. And I think people are personalizing it, turning it back into their own life stories. And I think it's bringing some healing And I think it's a reprioritizing of what's important in life.
Awesome.
One of the things that's inspired me, Helen, is thinking as a mum and putting myself in your shoes and imagining that situation which is told in the story, and you just alluded to it there. You ended up in a place as a family that you had nothing. You're facing really some very dire consequences with nothing but your faith in God. It's incredible now to see where you are. Can you take us back to that moment when you had all the kids and you were having to say, at this moment, we don't have anything, but we see what God can do? How would you inspire a mum today who's actually sitting there in the before picture with their kids?
I think the thing that we often forget when life's tough is that God's with us. Yeah. It's like we feel like we've got to fight our battles on our own. And he knows where we are. He sees where we are. He's with us where we are. And those are promises. And then the other promise is he will provide us with our needs. And so when we were in that situation where we had needs, we didn't have a car, we had no furniture in our home, we were struggling to put food on the table, those were real needs. And God turned up and answered our prayers on each one of those and multiple others. We had and the other thing I think that's really important in this, when you're facing a hard time, a lot of times you're looking for God to answer your prayers with a destination as to where he's taking you. But he did not take us to our destination of where he was taking us for quite a few years. So my encouragement is just take the next step. It doesn't necessarily have to make sense in terms of the long-term picture of what he's doing in your lives. It's just the next step. And that next step will never be wasted. He's always teaching us something. So our next step for us in those days was doing the menial tasks that people don't like to do, mowing lawns, weeding, raking leaves, cleaning houses, babysitting. Those were the cash-paying jobs that we did as a family. We worked together to do those jobs. And those were the things that put food on our table. And God used that time to teach us how to work together, to know that everyone was important, everybody had a responsibility, everybody had a job. And now, all those years later, the kids work well. When Rebecca was at the height working, and doing concerts, all those kids were her crew. They were setting up her stage and her lights. And then today, the 5 boys are still working together in some capacity or another. God doesn't waste anything. Like, he didn't want us to make a lifetime career of cleaning houses and mowing lawns, but he used what he was teaching us then for our long-term life. And so I just encourage someone who's doing it tough, recognize God is with you, see his hand today on your life, where you are, that he is there, and then take the next step. Don't look for the destination, just take the next step.
Love it. So was.
And I love there as well, Helen, you're talking about you pulled the family together. Like, often in that situation, the first thing as a parent you want to do is just take over and say, okay, kids, you sit over there, I'm going to fix it. But you've done something that's different, is that you've actually pulled the family together and everyone was involved in that journey as well.
And I think it grew the kids up as well. Like, it gave them, you know what, when they saw the answers to prayer, it changed their lives. It didn't just change David's and my life. And God used them at times too, because you know, as adults, you see the bigger picture. It can look pretty scary, but to a child, they're trusting you that it's going to be okay. And they've got that childlike faith in God that it's going to be okay. And so at times when you as an adult feel weak, it's the child who then comes and says, hey, Mum, Dad's got this. God's got this. Like, it's going to be okay. And frankly, we needed that. I couldn't have done it if we hadn't have been together as a family. I couldn't have done it without the strength that they brought me, the home that they brought me on a day-by-day basis.
Praise God.
May 30th is when the film finally hits the screens, the big screens down here in Australia.
We will be in Australia May 30. We are going to be sharing this experience with our other homeland. America we've been here 32 years. It has become a part of our hearts, a part of our home. But I tell you what, those roots to Australia are very strong.
Beautiful.
And it's going to be such a privilege how this tour has lined up with the release of the movie down there, and that we're going to be able to share with our other homeland, Australia, which is deep in our hearts, the presentation of this movie there too. So it's all been divinely led. I mean, the movie's release in America was on April 26th, and that was David's and my 49th wedding anniversary. So only God can orchestrate that stuff. I mean, it was not anyone's choice. It was actually came from Lionsgate. They made it because that was the best weekend. And then the day, and I think Joel worked out the math. Maybe someone told him, but he had the math down of the probability of how often April 26th turns on a Friday. And I mean, it's like in 1 in 7,000 or something.
Wow.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So God's been hugely in all this project.
Helen, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy. You got to go. You're about to, drive off in your studio there. I know. So, let's, but we don't even have to say this. When you're down here traveling around, I know the craziness is just going to get even more crazier when you're here, but we would love to see you and David in the flesh, and just say thank you in person for such a wonderful, vulnerable, honest film that you and the family have put out.
Thank you, DJ. We look forward to being back in our homeland.
On the Spotlight, we've been listening to a conversation that Fel and DJ had with Helen Smallbone on Rise and Shine. The movie they've been talking about is called Unsung Hero, and it will be in cinemas across Australia from this Thursday, May 30. See the trailer and where the film is showing at faithmedia.com.au. You can watch the full interview with Helen, plus Fel and DJ's chat with Joel Smallbone by tapping the Watch tab in the Free Vision app. You'll find it in the Rise and Shine channel. My name is Jen Spiker, and I look forward to joining you next time on The Spotlight as I share another podcast or video that deserves highlighting.
For more great podcasts and videos like the one featured today, check out vision.org.au or the Free Vision app.